Okay, so here we go again. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about our year of filming last year, kind of breaking down each short and kind of going through everything. But before we do, I want us to introduce ourselves. So Amanda, you go ahead and go first. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about how you got into acting and all that good stuff.
All right. Um, well, I got into acting like 10 years ago. Um, Probably way before that in high school with drama classes and whatever. And I realized that I did have a passion for it and something I continue on to explore. Did some theater classes in college until film work started becoming a thing. And that's where I met you, Clarence, and getting to know each other and seeing how well we worked together, proceeded from there and just did a few things on my side with extra work or little film projects as well.
Dope. Yeah, it was good meeting you. We yeah met in the film program. We were able to shoot Broken. I believe that was our first project. I'm glad we stayed in touch after that because I had no idea. Why you smiling, bro?
It's just cool to reminisce, bro.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. It went by quick, but it was a lot. And Jake, tell us about yourself.
Well, you know me, I'm a big Hollywood star.
Sure.
No, I got into acting and I guess just in school I did the stage stuff. I did like the theater classes in high school and then a little bit in college, kind of stopped and really hadn't fully intended to pursue it again, but I always kind of enjoyed it. Happened to bump into you at a job we both worked and got to talking and both just, decided that we wanted to pursue this. So it was just kind of more happenstance than anything else, but it kind of rejuvenated that love for it that I have. And so I was kind of excited to find that I enjoyed it as much as I did and still want to pursue it.
Yeah, it was cool, man. Like hitting you guys up and meeting up at the coffee shop and just letting you guys know because I think I told Amanda that years ago. I was just like, yeah, I really want to do this whole short film every week thing or every other week or whatever it was. And um I knew, I mean, as much as I'd want to, it's just not something. I mean, I guess it's something you can do by yourself, but like with the help from you guys, I couldn't even imagine trying to do that by myself, let alone succeeding. So um I do appreciate you guys for that. But and I'm glad we got to see it through. When I tell people that I was like, yeah, I tend to start the story like, yeah, I met up with some friends, Amanda and Jake, and we went out to produce a short film every week for a year. I like kind of stopped there, and sometimes I don't need to because as soon as I say that, they look at me like I have 10 heads. Like they just start laughing. Like they're like, "Oh, how did that go?" And I'm like, "Oh, we did it." And then their whole mood just changes. They're like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we actually saw it through." Um, and I'm not trying to like downplay anyone else's skills or success with anything they do, but I'm not gonna say who this person is because I personally don't know this person, but there's a person who was making this like fan made Spider-Man series, and shortly after it was supposed to be a thing, they were just like, "Yo, this is too stressful. I'm not doing it anymore." But like a month later or so, they announced that they're working on this short film. It took them about 2 months to make this short. It's like a 2.5, 3 minute short. I'm not saying this to like, put us on a pedestal or anything like that. That short that took them like 2 months to upload was on the level of our worst shorts. And that's when sometimes I look at what we were able to accomplish and see things like the test and the killing of two lovers and even the human experience. And some of these shorts we completed in like 3 hours that are better than things people have produced in a month. And that's where I'm like, you know what? we actually fucking killed it. Like we did a lot of really good stuff. Um, if you guys, yeah, if you just look online and you see some of these shorts that take people some time, you know, they don't hold a candle to some of the stuff we did in just a couple hours. So it's a big, you know, round of applause, pat on the back to all of us that worked on everything, including people that aren't on the Zoom chat. But yeah, we set out to do this thing, and in 2021, at the end of 2021, like December, January 2022, no, beginning of 2021, end of 2020 is when I hit up Amanda and I was like sending her all those shorts, and I was writing these shorts and sending them to her and letting her know that I wanted to do this thing, and she was like, "Yeah, no, I'm down." She was giving me feedback on the shorts, and eventually we ended up producing the test, and we did that before any other short. Um, and it took me forever to edit that just because I was kind of getting in the groove of the software I was using and stuff. But later that year, when I met Jake, is when I was like, okay, cool. I have two people. I can create conflict. I have, you know, a guy and a girl. There's a lot of different things we can do here. And so we started to produce some of those shorts early on. I think we made like 6 shorts before the year ended to kind of give us that window in case anything happened. But let's start with the test. Amanda, what were your thoughts going into it, and I don't know, making it and afterwards and all that? What'd you think?
I thought it was pretty good. I remember reading the script the first time you gave it to me. It's one of the like many I did like that you gave me. And I know originally like we were supposed to have somebody else there, but he couldn't make it, but we did what we could. And
I think we changed the script, right?
I
So
think we had a grip a couple times. Yeah. And the cool thing like I realize with you is you're very good with improvisation. Like you're okay with like us improving a few things, or if like things like we couldn't keep a line or something, like we you were okay with us like switching a few words around if we needed to. And I know for I think a couple lines I know I struggled with, but I know like, you know, getting like that shock factor out of me or saying something that like, you know, seeing like my ex or whatever, my like hookup with
yeah,
somebody else, getting that shock factor out of me. But, you know, I do know it's like supposed to be very like intense, especially in the apartment scene when it's just like I'm breaking down, and even just having that moment and realizing like this big change in my life, like what am I gonna do? And then what about this guy? And then now my boyfriend who can't produce anything, like
yeah, yeah.
so
It was a lot, and for a first short that we did, that wasn't even a part of the year of filming. We hadn't even met Jake yet. Um, it was really good. It was a great first short to have made, you know. So you killed it, and it's still, after all the shorts we made, it's definitely one of my favorite. Probably I would say in my top five, at all the shorts we did, and it was it was cool working on that and kind of starting the year off with a bang. And so when I actually uploaded that on January 7th is when I had tested positive for COVID. And so that was like a whole thing because now I couldn't see you guys for a couple of weeks, so we couldn't film. So then we had to upload the next 2 films, and we weren't filming, so it was kind of rough. But speaking of the next 2 films, is when we shot the talk, which was the first short that I did with Jake. So what was that like for you, Jake, shooting the talk?
Well, so that was kind of, I feel like we were still kind of feeling each other out at that point because it was the first one we shot, and we had kind of just met again at a job. And by the time we even got to filming it, you weren't working that job anymore. And so it really was like we were just meeting up to do this film thing. There wasn't any like working together or hanging out too much outside of that. It was just to get that done. And again, just getting it started though, I had a great time just getting back into a character of some kind. Um, it was nice to do the filming versus what I've done in the past, being primarily stage, because if there was a goof, we just hit, start over, hit the
Yeah.
record button and go again. And that was kind of nice. I took a lot of little liberties with that. I didn't take, again, like Amanda said, it's not that I didn't take the line seriously, but I didn't take them like verbatim. I was able to kind of say what felt natural. And so being able to work with you on that made it a much more enjoyable experience. Because I mean, if you weren't an easygoing guy like that, it would have been quite the year. But
Yeah, no, like,
um,
like honestly, I don't feel like I was always as good with improvisation and as good with all this stuff. Working with you guys last year did like teach me a lot about how it's okay to let you guys kind of go off script and do your own thing. Because I used to be very like, it has to be exactly like this, and this is how it has to go. It can't be any different. And allowing you guys, because you guys had a lot of input, even whole shorts that were you guys' ideas. And usually I was the type of guy to be like, nah, if we do that, then it's not my idea and it's not original and it's not yada yada. But as we went through the year, it was a lot easier to kind of let go and allow this stuff and us to do this, because it wasn't about me, it was about all of us. And that was something I learned very early on, where it's like, this isn't me producing a short every week. This is all of us producing a short every week. So it was cool. And with the not the test, the talk is when we were using all the lights and the bounce board and doing all
yeah,
that. And it didn't take long before I realized, like, yeah, this isn't we're not going to be efficient doing this on a very simple short where two people are just talking at a table. So we're going to have to pivot. We're going to be able to use this when we get better and more efficient, but this isn't going to be an every week thing at all.
yeah, and I think that was a big deal to make that notice early on and not try to force that to happen, because it was time consuming. And if we had a few more hands on deck, maybe it was something we could have considered more. But really, I feel like most of what we did as far as the content and where it shines isn't in all the technical stuff. It's just the simplicity of what we were able to capture in a short time frame and stay consistent doing it, because that in and of itself was a hard time.
Yeah, most def. Next one is dip.
Yeah.
About dip, Jake.
Dip was Dip was one of those ones I kind of forget about sometimes.
Yeah.
Again, it was pretty early on, and it was just kind of a silly idea. Again, weren't quite comfortable, as I wasn't quite comfortable in front of the camera quite yet, but it wasn't too long after that, especially after doing something like Dip. It's like, okay, well, I just did something kind of ridiculous on camera. It was silly, it was fun. I think at one point we had the camera inside of the refrigerator, balanced on an eggshell so that we could get the shot just
Not an
right.
eggshell, but an egg.
An egg,
Yeah.
yeah, on an egg, yep. And
Very stupid.
but it was, we did what we needed to get it done. It was fun. I had a good time with that one, but I was, compared to the first one we did, I was like, this is kind of silly. I'm glad that we ended up doing things a little more serious following that.
I knew it was gonna happen. It was just like, I knew we had to get those kind of simple, silly ones out the way so we could get more comfortable. We could be more efficient with things down the road. But um, it was also a good one. I remember, Amanda, you were saying when you watched it, you were just like, what the hell is going on?
Gross. Like, I don't know. It just looked nasty.
Yeah, yeah. And Jake actually smelled it in that one
I
shot.
that was, yeah, that you told me, you said if you want to smell it, go for it. If not, you just pretend like you smelled something disgusting. And I was like, we got to get the authentic reaction to this. And I don't remember everything we put in that. I'm sure if we played it back, I mean, whatever you saw in the
Yeah, whatever
short is what we put
short
in it.
we put in. Yeah, so
Yeah, and so it was not a pleasant smell. And it's just the idea of somebody leaving that in the fridge for later is rude.
it is. Um, Next is the hike. The hike was, so out of the shorts I sent Amanda, like, a year earlier or whatever, I think only like four of them were written.
Hmm.
Most of the shorts we made last year weren't, but the hike was one that was, and that was also the first time both you guys started working together. So we'll start with Amanda, but go ahead and talk about how that whole thing goes. Because you shot that in December, and it was really freaking cold up there on that trail. Um, so yeah, talk about that process and what it was like working with Jake for the
Run
first
at
time.
something together. It was a little more serious in nature, and I actually look back at that one and had a really good time with it. I liked the shots that Clarence got, and that it was we had a lot more scenery to play with, and he kind of took advantage of that. We were stopping at different points along the trailhead, and it was just cool because it was like, again, the point of it was that we were on a hike, and I had this secret I needed to come out and tell you, but it was just one of those ones that the lighting was there. I didn't have to worry about the lighting or the sound or any of that. Clarence took care of all of that. Um, but yeah, it was cold. That's the thing I remember the most about that particular project is how cold it was.
Yeah, it was, and I told you guys we talked about this, but I thought it was just kind of cool to have that first short with all three of us be, at that trail, and to have that last shot be of the human experience be at that same trail at the top. I thought was kind of cool, but yeah, I didn't think about just how cold it was going to be because we had to shoot scenes on our way to that final location, let alone walk back down. So yeah, that was rough, but it was a good time, and I'm glad we got it done. Next is Requiem. Requiem was like, it was just that 1 minute short, and I mean, I knew you could kind of play piano, but I didn't know you could play that in particular. Not that it's like the toughest piece in the world, but
I do my own stunts.
when we shot it, I was like, oh, we can do these like little 1 minute shorts. And I realized I was taking the easy way out by doing that. I think we only have one other 1 minute short. Um, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to just like make these really short shorts just because it's faster and we could get back to just hanging out and playing games, doing all this stuff. So um, but I actually enjoyed Requiem. I think we were with the space we had and what we were doing, we got some good shots in that short.
Yeah, I like that one because I remember when you wanted to do the 1 minute shorts. And again, like you said, we only did a couple, but you had actually sent us a couple of examples,
Yeah.
um, and they were really good. And so, as far as the tone of it, I felt like it was on par with those. Given more time, I'm sure we could have made it even better. Maybe not had the keyboard in the bedroom and everything like that, but maybe found like an actual place to put this keyboard or piano in its own hall or something like that. Maybe get the sound to resonate differently, but it was still very fun.
Yeah. Happy birthday. Happy birthday is one of my another favorite of mine. I don't remember like how I came up with it and stuff. And I say it all the time is I'm not usually one to like post on social media or like really talk about myself, but like I didn't realize just how much I was putting myself out there with some of these shorts we'd make, because making things like the test and happy birthday and killing of two lovers and stuff says a lot about the person writing and producing them, more so than I would ever say. Like I don't know where this stuff comes from. It just comes out. But it's kind of Tarantino has that quote where he's like, you want to make it so personal that you're embarrassed to share it. And it kind of is. Like you don't realize it at the time. It's just like, oh, it's just a short. But at the same time, I'm like, well, this came from somewhere deep down inside that I don't really know of. And it just comes out and you make it. But I enjoyed shooting that one though a lot.
I actually had somebody the other day I was talking to about the shorts, and he asked me you know, if there was one of these characters that you could go back and revisit, which one would it be? And I really didn't know how to answer the question at the time. Um, the I was actually at a party, and so the my critical thinking was turned off. And so, um, thinking back about it, though, I probably would have said that character from Happy Birthday because it was the first one that I really tried to create some sort of background for that I could carry in. Hopefully, it would carry through in the performance. But you know, everything that led up to that point, I just have to wonder, you know, what he's feeling and why he's feeling that. We only had a week to do some of these, or sometimes a day to do some of these because of our schedules, and so getting into character wasn't always something that felt like I was turning into a character, but really just trying to, again, get the short done in some cases. So I hadn't thought about it too much till he asked me that, but it probably would have been that character.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know
The more you know.
that. All right, so next was the drop off. We don't have to like speed past this one, but I was never fully a fan of it. This was one of the ones we shot when we were trying to have, you know, one of those ones to the side to upload in case something went wrong one week. But it's not even the idea, it was the execution of it. And the fact that the camera we had isn't best in low light. We did the whole thing at night and all that stuff happened. So I thought the idea was pretty cool, but yeah, I wish we were in a position to execute it a little bit better, honestly.
I agree.
The workout and dirty we'll put together because when we shot it, it was all handheld, and when we were done with the workout, I was like editing it, and I was like, here we go again. And next thing you know, I was done, and I was just like, wait, what? Like, did I miss something? And it wasn't that. It was just that I got all the coverage in these long takes that I didn't have to worry about setting the camera up and getting all these, you know, putting all this footage together. And I was like, well, maybe I'll change the way I film. I remember messaging you guys about that, just being like, hey, guys, just letting you know, I'm probably going to completely change the way I film for this. And once again, just like the 1 minute shorts, I realized I was taking the easy way out. I didn't want to put in the work to do other things. And don't get me wrong, I still have ideas where, you know, you get those kind of Inarritu and Lubeski, Terrence Malick type long take projects, but I knew that I wasn't wanting to change it to that because like that's how I was starting to see things. There's certain shorts that just don't work that way. You know, Double Date, which is coming up, isn't gonna work in these long handheld takes. It's just not. So but I enjoyed the workout. Dirty, not so much. I really enjoyed
I
it.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dirty was good for what it was. We I had a good time doing the workout though. That one was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of those were pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Bus Stop is next, Amanda. What did you? So Bus Stop was actually Jake's. Look at Jake. Bus Stop was actually
Second
Bus Stop. Yeah, Bus Stop was Jake's idea. The whole short. I think I came up with the idea of. Actually, no. I think it was. I think I came up with the idea for like him to get on the bus, and then I think Jake was like he should come back, or I don't really remember, but Jake couldn't shoot that short that day. And so fortunately we had Joe. Shout out to Joe for that short. Um, what did you think of shooting that one, Amanda?
I liked Bus Stop. Bus Stop was actually like a very like fun one to film. It was a little difficult too to film just because of like all the traffic that was going on, you know, near that location, and working with Joe again, which is always fun. He's a character alone, but he's a fun guy to work with. I did like the idea and concept of like just people meeting up like that, like meeting for the first time, and all it took was like a book just to like set things like, you know, in motion of like where can this go. But it was definitely like a fun one just to film because being on the phone with you and you're across the street with the camera to get like the shots you need from there, and waving down the buses that kept coming by, like, no, 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 like, we're just here. Was also like it was a little hectic, but it was pretty funny at the same time, and just trying to get those right, like, little things we needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think it'd be one thing I didn't think about was the sound, like, the footage working, but having to put sounds in because I'm cutting from one shot to the next, but you got cars driving at different times, so the sound of vehicles driving by in some shots were there, but there were no cars coming, and then the sound of vehicles not being there, but cars driving by, and it was just trying to put that together and put that short together was a little stressful, but ended up working out, so it was all good, and I enjoyed it too. It was hectic, but it was a good time. Game night, Jake.
Oh yeah, game night. Game night was one of the ones I think I'd been trying to get you to come around. I don't know why I had this like mini obsession with trying to use some of like my games and like figures in some of these shorts. Like the chess one later on. I don't know why I was like, maybe like you said, you kind of want to put some of yourself into some of these shorts, but I look back at game night and that one, I think that one was my idea, and it was just more or less something that kind of actually happened to me once. I invited a bunch of people over to kick it, and we were gonna hang out, have a couple drinks, just hang out after work one day, and nobody could make it, so I ended up just sitting there with all this stuff. I went to the store, bought all this, you know, these snacks, a few things of beer, and we're just was gonna hang out that night. It was a Friday, and nobody showed, and it was a bummer. So it was just kind of fun to film that in a lighter context rather than actually being sad. Well, and that night was also very sad because unfortunately Chadwick Boseman had passed away that day, and as I was sitting there bummed out, hanging up by myself, I came across that he passed away, and I just got even more bummed out.
Yeah,
And so it was just one of those days. But
yeah, yeah. I had fun shooting that short. I know we needed something. I think that was like one of those shorts where we really needed something, and we were able to put that together. I don't know if we shot that the week before or if that was like a couple days earlier or something. I don't really remember. We shot so many, but um, yeah, it was a fun short for sure. Next is Double Date. That was a fun one to me, man, because it was like shorts that we had done before. I knew what I wanted, but with Double Date, I knew like exactly what I wanted. I don't think I think the only time we had a shot list was for obviously the human experience, but what was that one called? Singularity, where we're like flipping and all that. The test, I think I had one and this and that. But Double Date, I did not have a shot list, but I saw the whole thing in my head, and I remember like showing up and being really excited, just being like, "You guys, like I got this short. This is what we're doing. It goes like this." And then Jake, you punched me in the face, and Jake was just like, "I'm not doing that." And it was like trying to get you to finally do that, which you never did do, which is okay.
nah, nah, you're way bigger than me, bro. There's gonna be a day where you needed to hit me back, and I'm not about it.
No, it was a fun short to make though, and it was cool you guys were on board, and it took us some time. I know Amanda was just over our shit because we just kept laughing when we were sitting on the couch trying to watch the film.
It was that was easily the short that had the most laughs. It had to have been.
Yeah,
It was definitely a fun one, but even just going throughout the whole thing, because it's another thing, getting to know each other, but it was just like really fun just to like see the process of like how it was gonna go in the build up. But it was, and seeing Jake in my peripheral vision every time he sat next to me, I just can see a smirk happening, and I would laugh because it did not help. But it was just funny. Like, it was a very fun day, that's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. It was a lot of shots we had to get, but definitely one of the highlights of the year regarding. I'm not like too big on comedies. And throughout the year, people who would watch the shorts would be like, "Oh, Clarence, you gotta do more comedies, man. This one you did's funny. That one you did's funny." And I would usually not like the comedies we did, because I'm just not really a fan of creating comedies. But I will admit, some of the ones we did, it's hard not to laugh at them. So that was definitely one of them. The next 1 minute short was the bet. Um, I don't even remember how we got into doing that one, but it was one of those ones I think we just shot real quick and wanted to put out. So, but it was it, it was a fun one. I mean, it was just one of those ones where like, man, we got nothing. Well, how about we just do this? We're already playing this game, so let's just like kind of put this together, and then we did it. And it
Yeah.
was,
Yeah, that one was fun. You had been shooting a different one where we had the game involved and we ended up never using it. And so I think there was somehow or another we were trying to incorporate a short that had a game, and that was not necessarily a cop out, but it was a good way to get that done.
yeah, for sure. Fun and games. Fun and games. We I don't really remember how we did it. Kind of broke the fourth wall with the whole like, showing up to film and we're hanging out trying to think about what to film next, and you went to go grab a firearm for the short and you shot and killed yourself. And it's not funny. Like I'm not laughing at that happening. It's I guess in hindsight, thinking about it, it's I don't know. It makes me laugh for some reason, but um it was a good short to put together. I don't remember if it was always going to be you to go grab it or if it was going to be me at one point or something. I don't.
You came up with that idea entirely on your own, and I actually remember after you uploaded it, I went to Colorado that following weekend, visit some family, and I got a message from one of our friends, and he was just like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Well, if I wasn't, I wouldn't have replied. I wasn't gonna
Yeah,
reply to this message."
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it went a very different direction compared to the tone of the previous uploads, and so um, you actually, I wasn't there when you filmed your part of that short. I feel like I actually had such a small part of that one. Toss the ball back and forth or whatever. You did a little speed through of those, but then you had your chance to shine there at the end and put that piece together.
yeah, yeah. I'm not too big on being in front of the camera. I'm not really a fan. That's why I like being behind it. But it was a good moment to go ahead and show those acting chops a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but yeah, I was happy with how that one turned out for sure. That was nice too. Next is I Love You Too, Amanda. I can't think if we wrote this one or not. I don't remember, but
You did right, and we were thinking of putting Joe in it, but with his timing schedule and everything couldn't work out. And we originally it was supposed to be like my character meeting up with the boyfriend at like on a bench at a park or something and just like talking to him face and face about the issue. And instead we switch it to like a phone call instead. Um but yeah, with my girlfriend being in it as my girlfriend and doing it there, she was nervous about doing it at first, but she was like very into it as well. And even looking back, like just seeing, like, I think she did a great job in that as well, you know but it's definitely out for sure.
yeah, yeah, no, she killed it. I didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't that. I think everyone did a great job in that one. I really like the shots we got in that and kind of how that story unfolded. I'd like to think people understood what was going on. I'm not too sure if people like put two and two together as to how that happened. I hope people didn't think it was just like your friend, you know, you being there for a friend or something and breaking up with someone as a friend, because that's not what was going on there. But yeah, I really enjoyed how that short turned out. And yeah, your girlfriend killed it. She did a hell of a job. after something as serious as I Love You Too, we went on to do Peace and Quiet, which when which is when Amanda's trying to read her book, and Jake is not letting her. He's going out of his way to do all these things to just interrupt her. And I can't remember whose idea this was. I don't know if it was mine or not. I don't think it was, but I don't
It
remember.
it was mine.
Yeah, take accountability. Um, yeah, it was a fun short, man, and even being behind the camera on that one, it's one that was tough for me to not laugh because the way that Jake was going about things and how you were like walking into frame and seeing Amanda's reaction to that stuff, it was just like it was just funny. Like it was I really enjoyed it.
It was one of those times, and I don't know if maybe other people, Amanda, if you experience this too, but sometimes you're just going about. For me, it was kind of the opposite. It was you guys thought this shit was just so funny, and I was like in the middle of doing my scenes, and then like Clarence would laugh, and I was like, bro, like why are you laughing? Like I didn't actually realize how funny it was in the moment because I don't think I fully understood what it looked like until I got to watch it. And so um yeah, it was in retrospect obnoxious of me. But yeah, it was one of those ones like I said, I didn't think it was super funny and I was trying to make it funnier and funnier and bigger, and that's why it went the direction it did. I was trying to make it funny and it just ended up
So
naturally being
next
funny.
was
So
Old Friends. That was another one I had come up with the idea for. I know Jake hadn't had a happy ending, and he was like sad about it. Um, but yeah, that was one just like recording you guys walking and get Jake into this certain state of mind and to reconnect with a friend of his. Let's start with Amanda. How was it shooting that one for you?
I like shooting that one. It was like um very like sweet, like meeting up with an old friend and stuff and just talking about the good old days. And some stories I had to pick up from like when I was in school and be like, what was a fun story back then that
Yeah,
would be fun to like just talk about and reminisce on things like that we could have done like in high school together and stuff. But it was pretty fun in a very like sweet way.
I wish we had a gimbal so I could have like stabilized the shot better while I was like walking instead of it having this more like handheld look. I wish it was like I had the little camera stabilizer, but that's only going to do so much while I'm walking backwards. So I do wish I had something so it was a lot more of a steady shot or a steady cam or something. But Jake, what do you think of it?
um that one you actually gave me homework for.
Here?
I don't know if you remember, but you actually had me write a note. It wasn't just paper and envelope at the mailbox. You had me write a note out, and at the bottom I put JK, 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 JK. Um, but shy of that, like it was an interesting one to get into. I actually enjoyed it a lot, despite the somber tone of it. Um, I struggled at the end of that one because you had me redo one of the scenes because I had a pouty lip. You were trying to get me to look sad,
Yeah.
and I guess I kept looking like like too sad. I guess like I was pouting. But
Yeah.
once I got over that obstacle, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. That was always like a big thing for me. I don't think it worked with every single short, but those final shots that each of these shorts get was always really important to me. Whatever the final shot is before we cut to black, that's always been like a big thing. And I did actually really like that shot of you looking up at her while she's walking away after you think that this is gonna be a thing, kind of a match made in heaven. But it's bittersweet for sure. It was a bittersweet ending. Next was My Spot. So we went back to a comedy after after something a lot more somber. So what was it? What was it like shooting my spot, Amanda?
Um, it was fun. It was hard. I realize I'm not very good at lashing out on somebody or just being like a total bitch on somebody. But it was fun. I was struggling a lot with like my lines and saying what I needed to say. But, overall, I had a good time shooting that one. I felt bad because of the car horn and like being in an apartment complex, it's just like there probably is somebody like that was probably sleeping that day and just hearing a car horn go off. So, but it was overall it was a lot of fun to work with.
Yeah, I would try to not like I try to have us not make things that would affect the people around us in any way. And I'd like to think we did a pretty good job of not doing that, but that was just one of those ones that, wasn't.
Yeah.
And that was Jake's. Jake, you had like a real, not a real experience of this happening, but something similar. Because I think this one was your idea too.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it's any, ease on your mind there, Amanda, at least it was during the day because that happened to me at about 1 in the morning when somebody was just laying into their horn and it scared the hell out of me because my roommate had just walked out and next before they came back up somewhere in that span of time, um, this car horn's just going off and it's not stopping and I got worried so I ran downstairs and it was just some lady behind a car just upset because somebody parked in her spot and I was like, seriously, what the hell?
Yeah, that's that's freaking wild. Next was I See You. And I See You was gonna be a little bit different. When we wrote it, it was more about a stalker. Not to say that this wasn't a stalker, but this is obviously a lot more supernatural.
Mhm.
That and I think I See You was the first one to be like over 500 views or something. So I think it was also our first horror short. So what did you think about shooting that one, Amanda?
That one, I did have fun making that one just because we had to figure out a lot of like where we were gonna place like the sticky note
Yeah,
and what would transition from there and how far it would go. Um, I do say like, for as many little difficulties of trying to remember what I like closing the blind first or what I did first, and stuff. Just to try to like get in that moment, like feeling like somebody could be in here, watching and you don't know where it would like progress to. Um, but the fact that like, we were having problems with sticky note, like placing it and like making sure it stays. And then like, I think we did a couple different ones, around the place just to like figure out where we're going to put them and stuff.
yeah. That's where you had that blooper. I don't know if you remember where like you went to turn the light on and you like accidentally turned it on. You like turned it on, turned it off, and turned it back on. It was funny as hell. When we screened all the shorts at the theater last August, that was one of the bloopers that was in there. It was a funny moment. Next is Brilliant Stars.
And this one is so weird to me because I keep thinking that we filmed this one so much later in the year, and I don't know why this one I think that. But yeah, this one was a combination of our ideas. I feel like we both came up. It was your idea to drive out and get something. I think I decided why don't we just grab a pack of cards or something like that. Um, and then the rest was history. It just kind of went from there. I will say, speaking of bloopers, though, that has to be one of my favorite bloopers is when we were walking out of the shop and we got this blooper of this guy who just walked across the camera the
And
camera shot and he just looks directly in the lens and
yeah,
keeps going.
yeah. For the record, I definitely don't expect anyone going about their day to like. I mean, it's not like we had a film set and someone's walking through it. I don't expect him to look at us and be like, "Oh, like sorry." But at the same time, yeah, he gave no fucks. Like he walked
Yeah,
straight into the frame, stared at the camera, and kept walking. I was just like, that's crazy. But
yeah, I was
yeah,
glad he kept walking.
yeah, we had to get the shot again, but it is what it is. Um, the game.
The game.
The game. I don't remember how we came up with this one, but we did have to go buy like a cheap game that wasn't supported on the
It was
console.
like, yeah, it was like a PS2 disc or something like that.
It's three.
Um, PS3 disc. That's right. It was PS3 disc, and we popped it in there, and it gave the right, cannot be played notification. And once we knew that we had a disc that would work, we went off from there. I think my favorite thing about that short is where you actually find the disc. Because it's ridiculous to find it underneath the rug like that. But we ended up getting one of the cooler shots in the short because of that, and where you bounce it off of the reflection of the CD to see me, and I thought that was pretty creative of you.
Yeah, I do like that shot. There's quite a few thumbnails and shots we got throughout the year where I'm just like, dude, like Amanda had a great idea, Jake had a great one, I had a great one, and we just kind of, like I said, it was nice to kind of accept you guys' input on ideas and shots and stuff because it definitely worked out a lot better from it. And I mean, that's how it is, anyways. You know, it's a very collaborative effort. So that was something I had to like learn while we were doing it. Um, Next one is paper. Paper was a funny one. I actually had some,
Amanda?
yeah,
No, no, I'm kidding.
I had someone reach out to me after, actually, no, that was after the next one, but someone had still reached out regarding paper, someone in Europe asking if Jake could could fly out, and they would fly Jake out to be in a short that involved sitting on a toilet or something. I, I sent that to Jake. I'm like, look, man, I already know what your answer is gonna be, but I wasn't gonna keep this from you. so so I sent it to him, and he's like, dude, why did you even bother? Like, this is not something I'd even consider doing. But I was just like, hey, man, just trying to help you make them connections.
my my thing is like, in what multiverse world do I exist where I accepted that invitation?
Yeah, yeah, seriously. If that exists and you accepted that, what happened to that Jake, bro? Honestly.
Held his career. He's making stable money, making the big bucks.
Yeah, but we had to walk all the way to Smith's to get that shot of the toilet paper, and I sped it up so you can only see so much, but having to walk and carry that camera like that all the way to this grocery store to go to the aisle of toilet paper. And I'm glad we like didn't mess up on the aisle to go to so it looks natural instead of like turning in the wrong place and showing myself turn around and go back or trying to splice two videos together or something. I just wasn't trying to do that. But paper was it was a funny short. Jake's reaction in that freaking short kills me, man. The dumpster. The dumpster was a short we had to hurry up and do before I went to work. Like I had work like 10 minutes later or something. But that was another one that became a lot of people's favorite. I think that was the first one over 1,000 views. I don't know if it had over 1,000 views when we uploaded it, but it does now. It has 1.4. But that was a funny short. Just thinking about it, it's always funny the idea of like someone chasing someone that took their trash. At the time, it's just like this is funny, but in hindsight, now that we're like a year gone, like it's like, bro, this is ridiculous. It's just the
Yeah,
funniest thing going back and watching those. But
I had a lot of fun doing that. There was the part where you get to the bottom of the stairs and you jumped over the railing and you almost freaking ate dirt. And then I saw that it was our first take doing it, and I ran up behind you and I second guessed myself because I knew that you weren't acting when you jumped over that.
it
And so
was that you if you jumped over it, you would have made it. I I didn't think about how I was gonna jump over that when I approached it. So until the last minute, I jumped over it in a very awkward way, and it was just I just kept going, and then it was funny when you like decided to stop and go around, and you just see us like running after that. But yeah, that was a funny short we did. Alexa, not one of my favorite shorts, but that was
it
actually a
was
little
it was yeah, simple idea we put together, and one that we quote to this day.
yeah, we do quote it to this day. Parallel. That was actually the 26th short. That was the halfway point of the year. So Amanda, um, talk a little bit about that one when we met up over at the park.
We did. We had to shoot in the next to the neighborhood that was in the park, like the neighborhood next to the park first, just to get that walking. And it was it got a little weird just with the car just sitting there when we were trying to shoot, and it was just very confusing for a moment because no one got out of the car. They just parked right next, and
Yeah.
it happened until finally they left. But walking through the park, and you were pinpointing where we were going to meet and stop, because you and Jake later were going to meet up for the night shoot of that, and just trying to find the right pinpoints of like where to stop, where to go, what tree were we gonna stop at and stuff. And you explaining to me what was gonna be the idea of it, just trying to get those angles right for it too.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of that short were the shots where we sort of juxtapose you looking at, we get this table of you, or shot, sorry, we get a shot of you looking at this table, and we get a shot of the table, and then we cut to Jake at that table looking at the table you're sitting at a different time of day. And it was just like an interesting short. Not too sure how I came up with that one, I don't really remember, but it was a fun short we did, meeting back up there with Jake later that night and trying to remember how we did certain things earlier that day to make it work in post. Yeah. I was expecting Jake to say something. Just like, yeah.
It just out of my head. I was thinking about it. You guys kind of said everything I wanted to say about it. It was fun. I wish I had been there for when you had shot your scenes, Amanda, because I would have liked to have seen how you guys put that together. Because I noticed a lot of the stuff we did separate. We did a few things together, but a lot of the things we did, apart from each other. And so it would have been nice to have been able to sit there all day and leave the camera on the same position for certain, shots. But for realistic reasons, we can't do that in Albuquerque. Um, so yeah, I would have liked to have been there to kind of see how you went about things outside of the normal scene or like the normal setting that we film in.
Yeah.
The Killing of Two Lovers. So at this point, after we had done Parallel, I was like, I really want to take a different approach. The first half of the year we shot, Paper and The Game and Brilliant Stars and Alexa, and I was like, I really want to start doing things a little bit more seriously the second half of the year. And so The Killing of Two Lovers, I think it was the first time where I was really comfortable with the idea of being inspired by things that already exist instead of feeling like I'm putting all this pressure on myself to make something that I'm just thinking of. And The Killing of Two Lovers is a feature that came out a few years ago. And I remember watching it and seeing the opening shot where this guy's standing in the doorway and he's looking at his wife and someone she's in bed with, and they're just sleeping and he's just standing there. And I was like, man, it'd be kind of cool to do a short like that. And so talk to us about that one, Jake.
You came at me with the idea. I mean, that was your idea, and so I just kind of had to kind of roll with what you were trying to explain to me. I hadn't seen the film, and so it was interesting because I think first thing we did was the actual first shot in it was driving around, and so I was obviously driving around the neighborhood trying to get these shots. And I don't know. I don't remember how much of it we actually used, but I was trying to create some sort of backstory right there on the fly. There was no script for it. You just kind of gave me the gist of it, and we went from there. Um, and I think this probably would have been another a runner up, if not one of the ones I would have considered for characters I would have liked to have explored more, because
Interesting to
there's
say
just
that, because for someone who talks about how somber some of these shorts are, the characters that you want to explore more are characters that are going
well, I
through
mean,
the streets.
Yeah, well, they're going through it, but that's my thing is it's like what led to this point? You want to know more. And I don't think that's really that weird. You know what I mean? It's like you want to know how they got there.
Yeah.
Um, you want to connect those dots. I think that's kind of natural, but um I had a good time shooting that one. You were able to take a couple of my suggestions as far as a couple of the shots went, and it ended up just being one of those pieces that I was a little more satisfied with at the end of the day.
Same. I think that one has some of the best shots we got throughout the year. Truth and Consequences Part 1. Part 1. Part 1.
Of one.
Part 1 of
what?
1. Truth and Consequences was going to be a 3-part thing. And I had written the script for Part 2, if I'm not mistaken. But it's not that it was just so ambitious, but it was going to take some time. I think it would have taken a little more time than we had time for, like to actually put together with what we were trying to do. And so I decided to be like, okay, let's make it a 2-part thing. And so we kind of put together these ideas we had of including part 2 and 3 together. And I was really excited. There were shorts that we didn't get the chance to make that I do think would have been some of the best shorts we shot last year, but just due to resources and time and things like that, we couldn't do it. But Truth and Consequences part 2 was definitely one of them that I think, because it turns completely into a thriller, and you got a whole lot of tension going on in that short. So let's at least talk about part 1 though, and how it was shooting for you guys. Amanda, you can go ahead.
Um, I really liked it. I really wish we did explore more with it on like a character standpoint, in that transition, going from like being totally just like broken and upset and meeting with somebody who like was responsible for killing my brother and everything, and just seeing that transition, go from like crying and stuff, which was like not an easy thing to do and like to bring out, but like for that it was definitely necessary, and it was something like I'm not used to doing so often, but it's a good like thing to explore for a character standpoint, just because it's what like how does it feel to lose someone that deep in a situation like this, which we were still trying to figure out like how or what could how did my brother die or what caused it, why was this person involved and stuff. And Jake's character being like very supportive of the whole thing and understanding, and pushing me, be like, we're doing this, like get it together, we're doing this. And it was a very serious like storyline, and for Jake it was very serious, like even though he's smiling right now. It's a
Well,
very
it's just it's funny because yeah, like you're going off about these different emotions, and I think back on it, and my character's like, this guy's gonna get got. That's the end of it. Like,
Yeah, because she's like having cold feet and stuff, and you're just like, yo, we're seeing this through whether you like it or not. And it would have been like you guys said, it would have been really cool to explore, because just seeing Amanda's character go through the things that we had planned for the next part, from getting cold feet to seeing what happens to my character and what happens to Jake, and how all this stuff really kind of plays out. Yeah, it's definitely, there's like 3 shorts that are like my biggest, like, man, I wish we got the chance to do this, because I think it would have been 3 of like the best shorts we did last year, and that's definitely one of them. But I was glad we at least got to do part 1, and I don't know, maybe someday we'll finish that off. You never know.
true.
TBD.
TBD. Next is Alone Time. That is when Jake is
Dancing in the moonlight.
yeah. That's when Jake is like continuously doing things when Amanda leaves and comes back home, and he's good to go again. He's chilling, and I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, Jake, I think that was your idea.
It was. It was.
I'm not, but
I'll
yeah,
take
well, you
credit
could
for that
argue
one.
in that short, you got a happy ending. You were happy just to keep dancing with that skeleton, bro.
Yeah, no, I was having a great time. It's just the time kept getting interrupted. So shy of that, everything was good. Um, it was another silly one. I don't know if you noticed between that one and between the one we talked about earlier, where I was interrupting Amanda constantly. Um, why can't I think of the name of that short? We just talked about it.
That one was called Peace and Quiet.
Peace and quiet. Thank you. Between those two, I tend to have this like, let's make it a little more ridiculous each time sort of thing. And it's an easy thing to fall into. And so I wasn't trying to do that again, like a one, two, three, and that would be like the climax or whatever. But um, it just for the way the short kind of went, it seemed appropriate. But I don't think we did one like that again after that.
Yeah, I mean that's also just how comedy works, though. It works in threes. If you look at Double Date, before I lose my you know what, I and Get Up, we had our moments where we're sitting down and I look over and then you look over and then this and that. Like it took 3 times before I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna get this guy. And I decided to do something really ridiculous.
This
But
is how I win.
yeah. Yeah. Sally Hansen. Amanda, do you remember Sally Hansen?
Ew, that one was funny.
Yeah.
Uh, no, that one was actually like pretty fun. Thinking Jake is like trying to hit on me or something, and then trying to build in out of facts out of a book I'm reading, and pulls out the nail polish, and everything just changes from there.
The idea of knowing a brand of nail polish from looking at it is out of this world, bro.
You had the
No.
game twisted, Amanda. You can't assume things in 2023.
Heard. But that was a fun short being over by the pool and getting that one together.
It was.
The Sound of Noise. That one was more surreal. I remember I was watching Atlanta a lot at the time, and I wanted to do something. I kind of wanted to mix the shots up and get these sort of kind of shots that we hadn't quite gotten before, and were a little more creative. Um, and that one was pretty funny too, especially when we screened it over at the theater. Just this idea of Amanda being like, "Yo, call me," and then she's looking at you like, "No, I'm deaf. I can't hear you," and you're just like, "What? Like, this is weird." And then seeing her talk to me like later at the end of the short, you're just like, "What the hell?" But then you're walking back to your place, and next thing you know, for a second, you lose your sense of sound, and then it comes back, and you're like, it was just, I don't know, that short, the way we kind of did things, when we put that together, I actually really enjoyed.
I'm never gonna let you live down the title of it though, bro. Sound of noise.
Sound of Noise. What you mean?
I love it. It's just one of those things you hear and it on paper it sounds dumb. In context it works, but on paper it's like the sound of noise.
Yeah, very true. Very true. 706. That was another horror short we did. That was Jake's time to do a horror short. What'd you think of that one?
Um I I liked that one a lot, and it's because of all the different moving pieces we had going. Um not any I don't think anybody really watching it the first time would be able to tell how many people are there hiding in dark places and moving things for us and turning on lights, turning off lights, etc. But there's just enough going on, and the timing was all perfect and everything was blocked out just right so that everything came together in the one, shot that you went around following behind me. And I liked how it played out. It took us a little bit of practice and, a couple errors to get it right, but it was worth it.
Yeah, you had the idea of the shot of being dragged back while the doors, and that was another one of those times where we're like doing things to this door, and I'm like, man, I hope this isn't bothering the neighbors or anything. But yeah, it was a fun short to put together. It took a while for us, like you said, to do it. That final shot of you like turning around at the last second kills me. This is the funniest thing how your hair looks when you like turn around right before it cuts to black. It fucking kills me, dude. Um, a day in the life, Amanda. I can't remember how you felt about this one. What do you think about a day in the life?
Remind me of that one again.
That's the one where we're like, that's the one where you like freaking beating Jake's ass because he didn't bring you flowers or something.
Oh yeah.
I
That one.
forgot about your birthday.
Yeah.
That one was very, very silly. But it was pretty fun. I get mad at Jake. He forgot my birthday. And he we get into a huge argument about it. And but just the his idea of what can happen in that situation, or like what happens if I go back empty handed. Oh, she's gonna kick my ass. That was actually a lot of fun to do. Punching Jake and then like just full on murder thing, sharpening the knife.
Yeah. It was funny just having all that and Jake's scream when we get that
That
shot
was,
where we're like running up to Jake, man. And that
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 was done in one take.
it was that final look on Jake's face when you open the door and Amanda's just like pissed, bro. And you look back and smile at the camera. We also had that feature, that little cameo by Tilly, who just freaking killed it, bro. Like the one and only time she just went on
Yep.
his afterlife.
Yep.
That was one mainly with Amanda, and I mean Jake was in it too, but Amanda's the one going through her feelings in that one. Do you remember that one, Amanda?
I do. A very sweet one, very sad, but a very like bittersweet moment of like moving on, or trying to move on to something different, and then like, like your ghost just seeing like and accepting things and stuff.
Next is the fifth step. By the time that came around, Amanda like pulls me to the side and she's like, "Look, Clarence, you getting me to play these crazy ladies, man? I'm cool off it. Like, stop doing it." And I was like, "Oh, it's funny you say that because today we have a certain short we're doing." And she's like, "No, no, this is cool. I just mean like that Karen stuff." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I got you. I don't think you ever play like a
Yep,
Karen in another,
Aaron.
yeah, in another short after that." But the fifth step was another one that was like directly inspired by Gone Girl. I had just watched Gone Girl again and just like, man, it'd be cool to do something like that. And so, what was it like shooting that one?
That one I had fun with. I think it was just cool finding concepts of like which step is going to be each step, and like to like get back at like Jake for like um being like dishonest and like full on cheater. But I really like the me and you sitting down and just coming up with different like steps, like okay, like what are we gonna do first? What are we gonna do next and stuff? And then, just explaining that scenario throughout the whole like video. And I really enjoyed it. It was just like something like very different. And then just thinking ideas of like I can't remember, like I have to watch it again, but like which we came up with, because I know one of them was the email, and I think messing up the apartment.
Yeah, you were messing up the apartment. I think the first step is when you like hit your head on the wall and I don't know, gave yourself a concussion or something. And then you were like, I can't remember if you were sending an email or if you were buying a flight.
I think it was buying a flight.
Yeah, and then you were like messing up the apartment. I can't remember what. That's one, two, three. I can't remember what the fourth one was. The fifth one was obviously framing Jake for your murder, which is wild. But yeah, Jake just comes home at the end like normal, and I like that shot because it's like, well, we're it's seconds before this dude Jake just loses his mind because he's like, yo, what the fuck? Like, my goodness. And that opening shot too of you sitting there, we have that opening monologue of you just like standing there with the wine before Jake walks into frame, and you guys have your interaction. But yeah, really enjoyed the fifth step a lot for sure. The scent of success. That one, if I'm not mistaken, was Jake's idea. Um, this one took us a while. This was another. It was a funny one for all of us, but I think it was definitely more so one that Amanda was like, "You guys, come on, like, we got to do this." But the look on your face when we zoom in, when we start to push into your face, and Amanda's just going off on this guy. You had trouble, right? Like coming up with things to say.
Coming up with things to, like, make him feel like he stunk, and bashing on his shirt or bashing on him. And I got told, like, that poor guy, like, you just went off on him.
It's
when you get at his shirt, man, and he looks down, when he looks down at his shirt and slowly back up at you, it's just every time I watched it, it took me so long to edit because I could not edit that without just fucking dying. I was just like, dude.
Not to laugh at Jake just because his facial expressions, and I'm like, oh.
And we like pushed
Yeah.
all the way in. Like I think we pushed into like your eye area before we cut to black. But yeah, you were on one, and you were like a geek in that short.
yeah, I was obviously very out of tune with modern social standards because I ordered this soap and I just thought the soap was gonna make me the hottest motherfucker in the world. And I used it right away, sang in the shower, that's how happy I was, and then I stalked you and then tried to make it so that like we naturally crossed paths even though we totally didn't. I went and ran a mile to cross paths with you, and and then you just lit me up.
Self-taught. um, Walk us through that one, Amanda.
That's the chest one.
Yeah.
Okay. At first it was sweet, but it ended up on a, like, kind of sad note. Jake teaching me Jake is teaching me how to, like, play chess, and I'm learning, but in the end you find out I'm teaching myself, thinking I see Jake, and I'm off my meds. So
Off my meds.
You okay? Well, to be clear, you're a schizophrenic who's off their meds.
yes.
Not just like anybody just stop taking the fucking ibuprofen. God bless.
That's true. I like the shots we got for that one. I wish we got some like overhead shots for it, but that just like we don't have something like to do that. But it wasn't a big deal. But I did enjoy self-taught. It definitely was. It did end kind of sad. It was a little sad the way your character, you get this reveal at the end that she's schizophrenic and she's teaching herself how to play chess. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. Bless you.
Kind of a superpower.
Oh yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole. Bless you was next, and that was when we got contacted by the European person asking.
Forgot about that.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Bless you was a fun one, man. I wish we got a little more coverage in the stall, but I got the Vans myself is a very very much a quoted line after all the shorts. But what do you think about that one, Jake?
That one was just fun. So a little behind the scenes was we had an audience while we were filming that one because we actually had some friends who let us into it was a gym, and it was the locker room of a gym where they let us in to shoot after hours. And so they were kind of watching how we were putting it all together. And so it was, of all the things for us to be shooting in the gym that we talked about shooting in a gym, I didn't think that would be the one we put together. But nonetheless, it is what we came up with. And I actually had a good time shooting that one. It was, I hope people don't take it too seriously. I hope people aren't trying to be like, wow, they did like 2 schizophrenic ones back to back. it wasn't like that. This one was supposed to be a little more silly and kind of, I guess, impractical. But it was fun.
After, I think it was after we did self-taught, actually, the next one was if you can't beat them. Now, this was literally a joke. I was not trying to shoot this short. And you guys seemingly held me hostage. You guys were like, look, we're not going to help you the rest of this year if you don't do this short. That's how it felt. Like, you guys were like, no, let's do this one. Because we like shot self-taught. And I was like, dude, would be really funny if we did this one short right, huh? And you guys were like, no, let's do it. I was like, no, I was just joking, man. And Jake's like, no, let's. And I'm like, okay, I guess. And so do it if you can't beat them. And it actually did it actually did really well. It's sitting at 3.5K right now. But
I think it's funny because I could tell how unwilling you were initially, and I kind of wanted to push that. It was fun for me.
yeah, I was just like, this is gonna. I mean, once we were doing it, I was like, okay, I'm having fun doing this. But leading up to doing it and being like, okay, what clothes should I wear and how do I want to go about this? And like, it was just like, uh, but it was a funny short, especially with Amanda. I don't know if you were like uncomfortable with it, but especially with you guys walking to the bathroom and being like, hey, this guy doesn't really belong here.
Yeah, that was props to you, Amanda, because you could have been canceled before you got started.
It was a little uncomfortable, but it was fun overall. Just like, and we had a lot of people for that one too. Like, definitely.
Yeah.
So just, oh my God, it was ridiculous, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Everyone's reaction shot to everything. I mean, if it was just like one other person, it probably wouldn't have been as funny. But by having a few other people, it helped a lot. Yeah, I had fun with that one. Closed on Sunday.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, closed on Sunday. Literally, I think we needed to go out and get food. I think we were hungry, so I think after we, um, after we got the shot over there at the Chick-fil-A, we ended up going to McDonald's or something like that, and their ice cream machine was broken. Heard, but but their I actually ruined my hat. I really threw my hat down on the ground and it was ruined after that. I felt really bad.
Yeah, we were having trouble with what to shoot that day, but I mean, fortunately, it was Sunday and they were closed, and so we could actually go there and do that. But
The one time you need it to be closed, you always think of Chick-fil-A on Sunday and you're like, shit.
yeah, no, that's the truth. Like, yeah, no, for real. Like, there's times where I'm like, oh, Chick-fil-A, I haven't had that in a while, and then it's Sunday, and you're just like, well, anyway. But the next short was breaking and entering. So breaking and entering, the title of the short is what I wanted to do for this idea I had for an actual like thriller, like a one shot. The whole short was going to be one shot, and it was going to be kind of like an uncut gems type pacing. Everything's fast paced, and these guys actually break into this apartment. You get this whole thing, and there was just I knew how it looked in my head, but I also had to be in it, and I just didn't think anyone would be able to get quite what it was I wanted, and it just wasn't going to work. And that's one of the ones I definitely regret not being able to do, but someday. But anyways, the one that we shot where Amanda's playing the game and she doesn't realize that Jake just got home and he's trying to get her attention. Tell us about that one, Amanda.
This is a funny one. I didn't know Jake came home, headphones on, playing a game, being on my phone, like ignoring my whole surroundings, and hearing something and thinking like in panic, like someone's here. And I think it was just funny grabbing like, the first thing was like a pan and just being like, okay, like it's my weapon of choice for my protection. Beating up poor Jake while he's actually on the toilet,
But you know what's crazy about you, Amanda, is when you became sus that somebody was in your place, you didn't decide to go out the front door. Nah, you said I'm gonna grab this pan and I'm gonna track them down because the person that broke into my house is definitely sitting on my toilet, and so I'm gonna go in there and whoop his ass.
Well, we had her walk around for a second because she like thinks she heard something and she doesn't realize, and then she hears something again in a different area, and that's when she goes to the back and you walk by. So she heads to the bedroom when you're in the other room, and then she hears something behind her, so she goes to the bathroom, and it was funny the way that we kind of set that up, and with you being on the toilet, just being like, "Yo, what are you doing?" Like it was
Third short of me on the toilet, bro.
I think it's the last one too, though. I think it was the last one too. But it's not a whole short of you on the toilet. It's just, hey man,
Yeah,
you got IBS, bro. I don't know what to tell you.
it'd be like that.
It'd be like that. Next was where's my phone? I remember coming up with this one, and I just thought it'd be funny this idea of someone who lost their phone and they look it up for some reason. In this case, Amanda was telling you, hey, you should look it up, and the idea of it actually being like right around the corner and being like, yo, what? I haven't seen this phone in like a couple years. And then showing up and having this guy trying to unlock this phone for 2 years that's sitting at a park, just like on this phone trying to unlock it. And you show up like, yo, that's my phone. Was just really freaking funny to me. But we actually had Amanda in the short and using the camera in that short as well. But yeah, let's Jake hear about what that was like.
That one was just fun because of how silly it was, but I didn't think it was gonna go the route it did. But by the time we got to the park and we're shooting some of those scenes, I was dying. That was one of my favorite shorts in terms of the comedic value that it holds. You came at me sideways saying I was racist, and I was like, no, that's my phone though. And then when I unlocked it, your whole tone changed. It was I don't know where you would see that outside of these short films because you just don't know what to expect with a new short film every week. But I'm trying to like when we filmed it, I was like, how would this fit into a feature? How would this fit into like a grand like scheme? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
I
didn't,
enjoyed that one.
I didn't expect Clarence's voice change. Like, none of us knew you were gonna go with that weird, nerdy voice at first, and then the instant change of serious tone.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going with the flow. I didn't want to talk like normal because I don't know, it wouldn't have been funny to me at least. So being an idiot and doing that voice is just
And you wore my glasses.
yeah, I did. I wore your glasses, which probably messed up my eyesight a little bit, but it's okay. Um, that was a fun one though. That was a fun one. I had a lot of fun. Gym Bros. Gym Bros is actually our most viewed short, which I think is just a product of it coming out so much later in the year, but also with it being a new year, people are always searching gym related things. It's at 33,000 views and it's less than 2 minutes long. It's a really simple short that we did, but um, yeah, I showed up. I'm thinking this is going to be all good, and Jake's doing some next level stuff that I can't keep up with. And by the end of it, you're like, man, I hope to be like that dude. When in fact, my character was hoping to be like you. So it was like, it was a fun short that we did. Really simple too, but yeah, it was true.
Would have been nice to knock that one out when we were in the gym, but we just didn't have the time or the resources to get back into that gym again. So
Yeah, and it would have been, but there's always people around, and it's kind of hard. I was trying to go throughout the year doing as little to people around us as possible, being as like not as much of a nuisance as possible. I'm sure sometimes we were because that's just we didn't really have much of a choice. But the exam, Jake.
another one that is based on my personal life experiences. Um, that one was me studying my ass off for a test. I'm not making time for anything, nobody. It's just me and the books and all that work, and it still didn't even pay off. I go take my test and I fail it. And I mean that happens to the best of us, right? But I, it's it was a fun one to shoot just because it was silly, but that did happen to me. I failed the test later on, went back past the test, but um I feel like it was one of the ones we were kind of grasping for there towards the end and just knocked it out.
Yeah, yeah, it was. That's exactly what it was. It was one of those shorts we were just like, man, we need something, and we put that one together, just like the next one, which is going to be the Arizona. And that was another foolish one where we just went and Jake. I will say the opening scene's kind of funny because Jake like has all these drinks in front of him. He's just like tired of drinking the same shit all the time. Like walking the street to go get in Arizona, but the idea of you opening this drink and someone you don't know running up, hitting this drink out of your hand, laughing and running away, and you like,
We only we made the mistake of only buying one Arizona, so we had to do all of that in one take.
yeah,
And so when I dropped down to my knees, I was trying so hard not to laugh. And you were running away laughing, literally. You were able to just do what you needed to.
I
And
was.
I was dying, but I couldn't show it. So and when I dropped into the tea, I was just like, oh man. I was like, shit.
What you got to do for the show? Maintenance was next.
Oh
I
man.
couldn't clean Amanda's pipes.
I think I think that one was Jake's idea. I think that was a day we were trying to come up with something, and Jake had come up with the idea of this maintenance guy. But I think I was gonna be in Jake's position at first, and then I flipped it. You were kind of sick, right, Jake?
I was just starting to feel off, and it turns out that that was the first day of me then having the flu, which I struggled with for about 3 weeks, kept me out of work for 2 weeks. It was an absolute shit show for me, and it threw our pacing off there at the end of the year pretty drastically. But it was also the one of the first cold days, and you had me out there shirtless in the cold. I think it just exacerbated things a little bit for me.
You had
But
me
yeah,
struck
I was starting to
with
feel
this.
pretty rough, so I was happy to wrap that one up. But I was having a good time with it. But I'm sure in the moment, it was the flu. It's one of the worst things I've ever had.
Yeah, yeah. It was a fun short. I'm just like showing up trying to fix this thing for these chicks when Amanda's going through something and she has a friend that's trying to like lift her mood up and they're being all weird and I'm like, the hell's wrong with you guys? That's for Jake to show up at the end. You said what, Amanda?
So uncomfortable of us just watching you.
I know, I know. I was just like, yo, what is going on right now? And then when the music gets turned on, I'm like, yo, what is happening? And then Jake knocks at the door and just like barges in straight to Amanda, not even knowing that that's technically Amanda, like just like all up in her face as I'm here to clean Amanda's pipes. And I don't know if like I don't know if like you were congested or what was going on, but your voice, the way that you said it, dude, it just killed me because you let no time between that door being open before stepping in. Um, just get things started where I was just like, nah, I'm freaking out of here. But
I think you ran out saying nope, 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 nope.
yeah, I did. I was like, we were having a hard time trying to figure out how to end that one, and that's the one we went up with. So
The door closing seemed to do it.
yeah. Next was Singularity. I came up with Singularity by realizing that I could reverse footage in the software I was using, and I was writing a short, and that's what came out. But trying to remember, oh, Jake, you got to wear these clothes in this scene, then we got to get the reverse of it. Pretty much just doing the same thing in reverse. That had to be one of the longest shorts we did. For number one, having to switch all the time, but number two, we were laughing a lot too, or I should say I
Yeah.
was. You were too, but I was a lot. And I think there's a scene where like you had glasses on and then you didn't.
Glasses on, glasses off. You could think it was an accident or not. By the time you get to the end of the short, you've got this opening world, and you have to get to the end of all the shorts to really understand it. But it's one of those things where in the moment, if you're watching it, if you catch it, you could think, oh, that was an error because his glasses were off and they were on, or blah blah blah. But the whole point of it was that it leads into the final short, and so it's more up for interpretation.
Yeah, and seeing Amanda in that final scene we got where you got me and you going through this weird stuff, and then we cut to Amanda in a completely different place that is tripping as well. Uh, and hears something outside and goes outside to see what's going on and looks at the sky, and it's like, what is she looking at? What's going on up there that we never actually get to see? So that was a tough short putting together and editing as well, but it was cool to finally have gotten that one done because there was just a lot that we had going on. That was actually the teaser at the end of the screening that we did.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was the last thing that we had shown. Identity.
Identity. That one was silly. I don't know whose idea it was, but um I think my favorite part about that one, as silly as it is, I think we've talked about it, is just the flicking the light switch. that whole scene just kills me.
Yeah, I don't remember how we came up with that. I think it was a group effort, but it's funny. And if you watch the short, you see times where I cut away right before like you look like you're about to start laughing in
Yeah.
certain scenes. Like you smile, and then in the very next shot, you're like straight faced, and it's like you're about to laugh real quick, and then in the next shot, you're not, and it's like, oh man,
Right.
it was it was a fun one to put together. Misunderstood, Amanda. Do you remember Misunderstood?
Is this the one where originally Eli was in
Yeah,
Yes.
it? Jake's heartbroken
yeah.
over it.
I bet he is. I bet.
No, at this point, I've come to terms with it, but it's been almost a year now.
Yeah, if not over a year. We shot a couple of shorts throughout last year that we didn't upload for one reason or another, where it was like lighting or just wasn't.
Right.
All right. Yeah, no, this one was it was fun. It was cute. Obviously, it was a different twist of events in the end. And I don't know, it was pretty like funny just to like see like, oh, this could be something, and then it's like, nope.
Took that away completely. Um, yeah, I enjoyed doing Misunderstood. That was like one of the last shorts we did. I think that was uploaded at the beginning of December. Yeah, it was a nice one. The 50th short was Happiness, which was a 1 minute short, and it was kind of a cop out, to be honest. It's not much of a short as far as the beginning, middle, and end goes. It was just kind of a compilation of everything we had done throughout the year, from footage and concerts and this and that. But it was a really eventful year last year, so I really wanted to put something like that together. So it was nice.
I actually love that short more than I've probably expressed to you guys, but I do like to go back and watch that one because you get to see how much fun we had. It was cool.
We had a lot, man. We had a lot of fun. It was really stressful. It was a thing that I feel like my brain definitely like. I think about all the shorts we did, and I'm just like, dude, my brain was like, yo, you don't need this anymore. Like the amount of work I put on my plate that I somehow was able to see through after filming with you guys every week was just like, you know, the stress on myself, on friendships, relationships, and all that good stuff. It was just like, damn. But it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet now that it's the second to last short, I had to, dude, I I had to do something. Like it was called Next, and for some reason it has 4.4 thousand views, but I could not figure out what to do. And I don't want to say what it is, but really in that short, it's just me trying to figure out what's next after all the filming that we did. And the answer for me is in the short. What it is that I do intend on doing next is both they're in the shorts. And so whether people watched it and were like, oh, that's what he's doing, or whether they watched it and it just went over their head, I don't freaking know. But yeah, just putting that together and uploading that before we finally got to the final short was huge, which was the human experience. I remember telling you guys, like, I don't know, I think it was like halfway through the year where I was just like, yeah, I was thinking about doing this thing. I know exactly how I want to end this. Oh, I know I want to cap off this year of filming, which is to kind of connect all these shorts we've done. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but we'll get there when we get there. And yeah, I sent you guys the script and you guys read it and you were just like, I'm digging it. But we were hoping to film that like October.
Yeah.
It got like too cold and all that. But yeah, let's really go into depth regarding this final short. Let's start with Amanda here and let's go into depth about that your whole experience with everything we did with that final short. What you thought about the short, what you thought about finally finishing filming for the year and everything.
It like knowing that like this was it and this is like the final one, I thought it was very crazy. I'm like, holy crap, we went through a whole year already, starting from the beginning to the end. And then when you sent the script out and told us about it and what was like the idea and stuff, I called it a multiverse because I'm like, wow, like we're going through all these a few different shorts to connect to the end. And, back tracing all the way to the test and remembering things like, because we filmed that, like you said, like very like early on, before like we started this whole thing. Um, I thought it was pretty cool. It was definitely like going down a trip memory lane. All right, like how are we gonna do this and stuff. And so it was cool just starting from like, the test, like what point were we gonna go through that. And I remember doing the car scene in the test with you and one other person helping us with the camera, just going back down the street that and um seeing how like we would go. And I really I do remember like we had to go through different times because I believe one of the scenes we did in the park, like I was already feeling sick that day, but pushed through and everything. And it wasn't too cold, but it was pretty cold like still that day alone. And then doing the hike next, like revisiting that area and stuff. Nothing like to do with the short in that, but I do remember just revisiting that area and it was just like very it was still cold again, but colder I think this time because there was way more snow going back to that. And I don't know, it was really fun to do, but it was definitely like one of those things like we got to get this, we got to try and work it through and stuff.
Yeah, I had moments throughout the year, but definitely on that final short where, you have a lot of people that feel entitled to just be like, hey, you guys, you got to do it. Like, they're the filmmaker and they're just like, hey, you guys, you committed to this, you got to do it. But you guys, you were getting the footage out of it and you were getting stuff for real and stuff like that. But really, you guys were doing it out of the kindness of your heart. Like, there were times I fed you and stuff, sure. But for the most part, we were all meeting up to reach this common goal that we set for ourselves. And yeah, seeing it through was really cool because like I said, a lot of people laughed at at us when I told them that it was something we were doing. But I remember having some nights, man, where I was just like, dude, early into the year, I'm just like, how are we gonna get through an entire year of this if this is happening within the first month or two? But yeah, it was cool that we saw it through. Jake, your thoughts on the human experience?
So sorry, not trying to like clear my throat, like, pardon me, but I have to cough. Okay. Um, for me, the human experience was a lot of fun for three reasons. The first one being that I did, like I mentioned earlier, get to go back and revisit one of the characters that I actually wanted to revisit, out of the shorts that we did. And so being able to go back, put on the same clothes, even though I'm doing kind of the same thing more or less, and it really wasn't that much. It was cool because I was getting that blast from the past. I was kind of connecting it to a bigger scope. Um, Second reason was that it was kind of like the period at the end of the sentence. I knew this was the final short. I knew that it was all coming down to this moment, and like you already kind of mentioned, we all worked on it, as much as we could throughout the year, and we saw it through. And I knew that I wanted this one to be a little more, a little stronger, a little better. It was obviously, longer. You put the work into writing the script and to get all those shots, and it felt very, very conclusive because we revisited the uh, the hike trail and got to be in these same places. So in a way, it was just kind of like I said, it was that period at the end of a sentence, but also at the end of that essay that you're going to turn in. It's just very relieving. It's over. It's bittersweet. You had a good time doing it, but um, I don't think I would have changed anything about it really. I just had such a good time doing it with you guys, getting through all the different shots. It was cold. Maybe I would have changed how cold it was. Try to get it done earlier in the year. But yeah, it's one of those things I look back at, and you mentioned Clarence when we were talking about it at some point. You want you want what you're creating to be so embarrassing you don't want to show it to anybody. Um, and it's not that that's how I felt about it, but I do look at, like, I had a bunch of family that was interested in checking it out, and I kind of was just like, yeah, I don't know if I want you guys to go into looking at all that stuff, not because I'm not proud of it, but literally just because I put a lot of myself into these things with you guys, and you guys are some of my best friends in the world, and that's just kind of like it's mine in a way. It's for to me that's for us almost. So not that they can't go see it if they want to. They had the YouTube links just like everybody else, but um, I'm not watching it with them. I watch it by myself when I'm wanting to hit my feels.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, yeah, it was a lot, man. And that final short, I mean, not, I'll be honest, I'm not too sure why I was so confident that we would be able to see all this through because it's a lot. And especially that last short being like 18 minutes, it was a lot to do. And the quality of the shorts, hurt, being what they were, it was just like we did a great job, and I really can't thank you guys enough. There was I'm not gonna say his name, but there was a guy I knew some years back, and I remember being so envious of this guy because when I was first getting into the idea of wanting to get into filmmaking, I had seen him post something, and he was working on Danny Boyle's Steve Jobs film that was being filmed in the Silicon Valley, and that's where I lived at the time. And I was like, yo, and I hit him up and I'm like, yo, like, how did you get on the set of this film? And, this and that. Oh, I go to this one school, man. And, filmmaking is just, it's my passion. I love it so much and this and that. And so like a year later, he had posted a short film and, he's putting all these things on it. Oh, filmmaker life, creativity, you can't escape it, whatever. Dude, like 2 years later, all that stuff was deleted and he had a picture of himself as a real estate agent. And so it really put things into perspective for me where I was like, this is a guy that, really made it seem like this was something that couldn't be avoided. You get these people where really doing this is it's like a parasite. Like you really can't escape it. You can't help but to tell stories, to write, to film, to act, to do anything, any sort of artistry, whether it's music or painting, whatever it might be. It's one of those things that bothers you if you're not doing it. Like it just freaking eats at you. And this idea of doing a short every week for a year was brought to my attention in 2016, if not 2015. No, it was 2016. And so to do it, like 7 years later, however much longer it was just like, in a way, a dream come true. With the changing nature of the industry and stuff, and really not knowing how things are going to be moving forward. The stuff that we made throughout the year last year will always be there, like for anyone to watch. Like it is there forever, which is really freaking cool. And if I ever get the opportunity to make a feature, if you guys ever do, if we all do together, whatever it might be, you definitely want it to be something where you're just kind of like, if there was one thing I could make and one message I could put out into the world, what would that be? You want to make something like it's going to be the last thing you make, because it very well could be. Not to be morbid or anything, but that's just, yeah, like it's the idea of us putting all this stuff out there, as silly as it may have been with some of those shorts. A little bit of us is in each one of those. And with family and friends that have contacted me and probably contacted you guys, to them it's just, oh, that's so funny, oh, I thought this was funny, this one was good. But it's like, dude, times of our lives into these things we worked on, we will never get back. And that's in each one of those. And so to end that with the human experience and the way we did, and to collectively put everything together, was just was a great bow on top. I honestly can't think of a better way to have done that. So on a serious note, I very much appreciate you guys helping me with all that, and us all putting that together, man. It was awesome. And I'm glad we were able to talk about everything, and kind of genuinely, after the human experience and all of that stuff, on a positive note, kind of revisit everything all this time later, and talk about it, then have a few good laughs, and move on to the next chapter.
No, and thank you too, because again, you kind of were the centerpiece for it. You brought the people together, and it was one idea. And like you said, yeah, we helped out, and I'm not going to discredit that, but it was your idea, and it would have never crossed my mind to have done something like this. And it took a year, but I got some of the best laughs and the best friends, out of it. So
I had wonderful moments doing this with you guys, and like meeting up, like once a week, and like throughout different times of the year and stuff, was really great experience. It was always fun, and you can tell every time we worked together, we always had fun no matter what. And I enjoyed it with you guys. Like, I wouldn't change it. I would want to do it again. Probably not all 52 weeks, but if there was the challenge to do it again, like, I'd be down to do it.
Wow, you hear that, y'all? Every week for a year, part 2 coming out. Every week for a year, part 2 coming out soon.
He couldn't even keep a straight face. He laughed before he could even finish that.
Thank you guys, man. The Zoom call is gonna end in, like, I don't know, probably 30 seconds. It just has less than a minute. So yeah, much appreciated, you guys. I'll definitely be in touch. We'll be talking again. So you guys take it easy, man. I'll hit you guys up later on.
You guys too.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys up later. You guys have a good one.
You too. Deuces.
Bye.